Hey guys, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody is doing wonderful. We've had a wonderful week. I'd originally scheduled this live stream for our case of the week for last night, but Thursday afternoon, apparently 2 of our cell towers went down for some reason. And I live in, as I call it, the country. So very rural area. So we are a little bit short on cell towers out here as it is. And then when you have 2 that go down at one time, I had we could have got a call in, maybe a text or 2. I couldn't use my Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone, which is what I rely on to do my live streams. And it was just a mess. But thankfully yesterday afternoon, because I said it might be Monday before they got it all fixed, but luckily yesterday afternoon everything started working again. Fingers crossed that it will hold up for this live stream tonight. So I'm glad to have you here. Welcome everybody. If this is your first time here, thank you for deciding to drop in and spend some time with us tonight. The case we're going to be covering tonight is a lot to unpack in this case. Lots of information, and we're just going to be getting the tip of the iceberg, just covering one particular case that is tied, supposedly, according to some people, tied into a much larger, I hate to use the word conspiracy theory. We're not going to go so much into the conspiracy theories that supposedly involve some very high government officials from back in the day. This is a case from 1987. But we're mainly going to concentrate on this one particular case. But in all fairness, to give all sides of the story, I will be bringing you some information because this case has been, and it happened, it'll be 37 years ago in August. That's how old this case is. So coming up on the 40-year mark, still not solved, no answers. In my opinion, it is completely solvable. And I do have my opinions about this case because being from Arkansas, of course, I know all about this case. I've gone and done even more research to get ready for to bring you this information share the story with you for the show. I do have my opinions, but I'm going to do my best to keep them to myself, or to be as fair and unbiased and give all sides of the story. So with that said, I hope I haven't scared you off already, anybody who's here. But as I was saying, if it's your first time here, thank you so much for joining us. I share missing persons, cold cases, some true crime in the news, and just anything true crime related that I find interesting and hope that you guys will find interesting also. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, please consider subscribing, like, share, comment. You guys know the drill. For small channels like mine, who don't cover, for the most part, I don't cover the high profile cases that are in the news. I stick with the um, I've got to break myself from saying smaller cases, because none of these cases and these missing persons are small, but they don't get the national attention, and unfortunately, a lot of times they don't get the local attention that they deserve. So that's what I strive to stick to here on my little channel. You can. I'm waiting for some more people to pop in here. You can find me on Facebook also. I have a Facebook page, a Facebook group, also obviously called Southern Gal True Crime. I do post stuff in the group and on the page that I don't put here on YouTube. The group is a private group. It, of course, costs nothing to join. But I made it a private group. That way we can have anybody who's a member of the group we can have some more, give a little bit more of our opinions that we might have on certain issues or certain cases that is not going to be broadcast out to the general public, because in the private groups, the only ones that can read comments are people who are members of the group. You can contact me if you have any questions or comments about anything that I share. Please feel free to either email me at the address there on the screen, or you can leave a comment. Or if you're here during the live, you can stick any questions or comments in chat, and I will do my best to keep up with chat and answer any questions or comments that you may have. Also, if you have a case that you think that is dear to your heart, you might be involved in some way, as in knowing a victim or victims. It may have happened in your home city, hometown, home state. If you feel like it's not getting enough attention or you want it to get more attention, email it to me. Give me the name of the victim, the name of the state it came from, any information you have. Makes it easier for me to get on the Google machine and research it, and I will work it up and do a video or a live stream on it. Even though I'm a small channel, I'm making those baby steps, and as people keep pointing out to me, it doesn't matter how small you are. If at least one person hears the story and shares it with another person and shares it, and the snowball effect, it'll reach a lot more people. So that's why I always say, please subscribe, like, share, comment. That helps push this information out to as many people as possible. So let's see if I got any other shameless plugging to get out of the way. If you would like to help support the channel and the search for the missing, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account, I have a PayPal Me account, and I have Southern Gal True Crime merchandise. And a portion of anything donated or bought from the merch shop goes to a nonprofit organization, a very wonderful group of people that go out and help families free of charge with try to help find their loved ones or help find out what happened to their loved ones. They work in a lot of cold cases. Very good, worthy cause. Like I said, it's nonprofit, and so I donate to them to this as often as I can. So, like I said, any donations made through my Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal, any merch will go to that very worthy cause. So, I don't think I'll go ahead. Trigger warning: some adult content. It's not nothing graphic. Of course, I don't get into the blood and gut side. Just just the basic things that I have to share about any crime that um, you know, that is pertinent to the story. I'm not just going to throw something in there just to say, "Ooh, that's not the kind of channel I am." We are a no nonsense, no BS, no drama, limited, no conspiracy theories. Although in this case tonight, we might touch a little bit on some of the conspiracy theories, just within the context of the case that we're going to talk about. So I'm already 10 minutes in and still babbling as usual. So anybody new here, forgive my babbling. Oh, hello, the think tank. Thank you for being here. Miss Frankie Rose is here. If you guys have not checked out, and let me take my banner down or I'll forget and leave it up there for the whole show. Which one was it? Oh, maybe I did take it down. Anyway, if you guys have not checked out the think tank, Miss Frankie Rose, please check her out. She is, I believe, in somewhere in the Canadian mountains. I am somewhat new. They've to the think tank community, but they are a wonderful community, and I think my community and other creators I watch, such as Mr. Steve from True Crime Web, Chris from the Mob Crew, I think all these communities share some mutual members. So all our communities have to work together. I'm not just creators, and I still have a hard time thinking of myself as a creator. I just get on here and do what I can to bring awareness to these cases, the missing persons, the important stuff. So I am still fairly new to the think tank crew over there, but all wonderful people. They welcome me with open arms. They welcome anybody of as I call a like mind, as I stated before, no BS, no drama, stick to the facts, do it for the right reasons. And the think tank definitely does it for the right reasons. So thank Miss Frankie for being here. My girl, Michigan Wifey, is here. Good to have you here. It's good to have everybody here. But I do have a handful of what I call some creators refer to them as their OGs, the ones who've been there from the beginning. Michigan Wifey is one of those. Before I even started doing my foray into my live streams, that fair warning, at any time could turn into a dumpster fire. Hopefully it won't tonight. Michigan Wifey was always watching my videos, liking my videos, commenting on them, anything to support. And so, if you can, I was hawking my shameless plugging earlier about ways to donate and to support the channel and the search for the missing, but it doesn't cost anything to subscribe, to watch a video, to like a video, to share a video. That costs nothing, just maybe a little bit of your time. And that's all I ask, So welcome, Michigan Wifey. And the think tank says, happy to be here. I'm looking forward to your show. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Like I said, this one, I know I'm babbling a lot about it, but this one, there's a lot to unpack in this case. Yeah. Michigan Wifey says, I'm definitely an OG. Love me some Dawn. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love you too, Michigan Wifey. I love everybody. Anybody and everybody who has supported me from the beginning, has continued to support me now, will continue hopefully to support me in the future. Everything you guys do is so much appreciated and very humbling. I never thought when I started this channel that it would I'm not a big huge channel, but that's not my goal. My goal is to just although my numbers are climbing up there, I think I'm at 436 now subscribers, so we're doing good. Your channel and people who have other creators who support me, they always tell me your channel does not have to be huge to make an impact. So I'm going to take that to heart and keep reminding myself of that. So I appreciate everything that everybody does to support. Fritzy Garage is here, another OG from Warsaw, Poland. Oh my goodness, it's 3:15 a.m. Going to sleep soon. Thank you for dropping by. Always love to have Fritzy here. Like I said, another OG that before I started doing my live streams, always watched my videos, liked them, commented on them. It's very much appreciated. You can always because this one might turn into I've tried to condense all this information that I'm going to give to you. In this case, try to condense it and bring it to you as quickly but efficiently and as eloquently as possible. So thank you, Fritzy Garage, for being here as always. P9 New York is here. Welcome, P9. One of my newer friends from, I believe, Dave, Al on the Prowl, whatever our friend Dave calls himself now. Another good channel. Check out Al on the Prowl. All of these channels that I mentioned, you can find their links. Go to the homepage of my channel, scroll down to where it says visit our friends below. All the links are there. So welcome, P9 New York. And that banner is still up, and I want to take it. Okay. I don't want to hide it. Okay, maybe that got rid of it. I always have technical difficulties for anybody. So welcome, P9. Good to have you here. Yes, I believe P9 is one of Miss Frankie's awesome mods. If you're talking about P9. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with comments are coming in hot and heavy here, which is good. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and everybody who will be watching replay. I'm just making sure I'm caught up in, because I do have some, always feature a missing person. We'll get into that before I start babbling too much, because I think I'm caught up in chat once again. This time, there are two me's in here, because fingers crossed, like I said, my second self is in the studio where a lot easier to control things from my laptop, and I can concentrate on this camera business. But we will get started. I got some updates first. So on my last live stream I did, which was last Friday, last Saturday, last weekend sometime, I had featured a wanted person. I'm going to start trying to do that more because wanted people are just as I don't know if important is the right word. It's just as important. I've come to realize to feature wanted potential suspects, persons of interest, offenders as the missing. So my last live stream, I had featured Abraham Anzaldua. He was suspected of, I believe for a while now, he has been suspected in the disappearance of, and I know it's on the slide somewhere and I can't read it. Danielle Jakovsky. He was suspected in the disappearance and possible homicide of that person. He was suspected of kill. Actually, when I found this, they had posted it because he was suspected of taking the life of his own mother. Turns out they have found him, they have arrested him, and they have charged him in the homicide of his mother. Horrible, horrible case. So it says Garland County, which is in Arkansas, fugitive Abraham Anzaldua, if I'm pronouncing that right, charged in a mother's homicide. We disregard where it says we're not going to discuss the graphic part of this. I just want to get the basic information. So the state of Texas versus Abraham Anzaldua, who was 48, was arrested Thursday night after members of the public located him at a gas station in Odom, Texas, and minutes later driving toward Sinton, Texas. San Patricio County deputies pulled Anzaldua over just south of Sinton. U.S. Marshals took him into custody for capital M of his mother, Mary Alice Anzaldua. She was 67 years old. She was found in a bedroom at her home on Monday morning, and I believe it was either this past Monday or the Monday before, when first responders arrived for a house fire. So I'm going to, like I said, I just came across this today. I've been really busy today trying to get my slideshow down. I've been taking stuff out and adding stuff in when I found new information. So I'm going to have to, I will give an update tomorrow if I have time, find some more information about this case and bring it to you. But the most important part is he has been arrested, charged. He is off the streets, and hopefully, allegedly at this point, if he is the one who took the life of his mother, and if he is the one that is suspected in this disappearance of another person, hopefully they will all get that all figured out and taken care of. So make sure I'm still caught up. So that is that. So another, well, a bad guy off the street. That's always good. That brings us, unfortunately, to our first featured missing person for the night, Nikki Wright. Nikki went missing from Van Buren, Arkansas on February 3rd of this year. She is 27 years old, a white female, 5'4", 130 pounds, with blonde or strawberry blonde hair and brown eyes. And as she was last seen in the El Paso, Texas area. So I believe I have a little bit more information. This information comes from the Morgan Nick Foundation Facebook page. And it says that Nikki was traveling from Van Buren, Arkansas to El Paso, Texas. Nikki arrived in El Paso, but has not been heard from since. She was last seen on February 3rd. It does not say where she was seen at. I'm going to have to look, once again, dig around for some more information about this one. I always keep tabs and updates on any missing persons that I feature in case there are any updates that I can bring you guys. Of course, her family is worried and desperately searching for her, searching for answers. So if you have any information, if you're in the Van Buren, Arkansas area, which is very close to the Texas border, Texas-Oklahoma borders, please, or if you're in the El Paso, Texas area, please call the Van Buren, which is an Arkansas agency, Van Buren Police Department at 479-474-1234. I'll go back again just to give you another look at Nikki. She's 27 years old. And when I was checking, and I'm going to have to because I don't know if it's legit or not, when I was checking the comments this afternoon, there was some strange comments on there. Somebody had posted or shared screenshots of some comments that supposedly either came from Nikki's Facebook page or somebody who had cloned her Facebook page. Very strange stuff, but I didn't want to bring that up here because I don't know how legit it is. So I will dig into it, and if I find anything that is legit, I will definitely bring it to you. Let's see. Out on the prowl is here. Hi, Dave. So friend Dave, if anybody who doesn't know, he changed his name or his channel name to Out on the Prowl. Dave is in my special link section on the homepage in my friends section. So please check Dave out. He does a wonderful job covering true crime and breaking stories in the news. Now, Dave is a late night person or early morning person, however you want to put it. So when he does his lives, it's either very late at night into early in the morning. So if you're a night owl like I am right now, until I have to go back to work, check out his lives. If not, definitely watch the replays. Dave always has very good information, very good insight, very good, very sharp guy. Dave is a good guy. I would not recommend any of these channels that I recommend if I didn't think that they were worthy and do this for the right reasons. So thank you, Dave, our resident Owl on the Prowl, for being here. Oh, goodness. He says, I left Mr. Steve for you. Yes, I almost got, I hated to. I did watch about the first almost 30 minutes of Mr. Steve's show. And then I had to start break away from that, unfortunately, to get ready to do my show. But I will catch the rest of his show on replay. Once again, check out True Crime Web, Mr. Steve and Mrs. Steve when she's there. Right now, she's spoiling grandbabies. Please do check out Mr. Steve. He probably gets tired of me calling him out, but he has supported me um, since I started my channel, giving my channel shout outs. He was gracious enough to let me be a guest on his show to discuss an Arkansas case that's very close to my heart. And when he was in, and he pops in on chat sometimes. He may not always say anything. He likes to lurk sometimes, but that's okay. But every once in a while, he'll chime in and with some very good information. He is former law enforcement. He's done everything from working in the jail, road patrol, worked thefts up to homicides. I'm trying to remember his intro. I should have it memorized by now. He was on the SWAT team. He was a sniper. He got into CSI. He was a state certified CSI. He's done it all. So he knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. All right. So next we have, I don't know if you guys have heard about this Audrey Cunningham, this little girl that went missing, I believe, Thursday from Livingston, Texas. Apparently, it's a developing story. Gizla, if any of you guys watched Grizzly True Crime, Gizla did one of the police agencies, law enforcement agencies, did an update. Apparently, they have a person of interest. So you see there on, and as far as I know, no, I haven't checked in the last couple of hours if there are any updates. So if any of you guys have been keeping up with this one, you can throw some comments in chats if there's any updates on this. But she went missing on Thursday, the 15th in Livingston, Texas, around the Lakeside Lake Shore area near the Lake Livingston State Park. And apparently, I've heard that she either did not make it onto the bus. The school bus, which I think is what they said the case was. She never made it onto the school bus. Now it turns out that there was this vehicle of interest. It is a 2003 dark blue Chevy Suburban. And now, let me go quickly to the next slide. They have a person of interest. This is, I forgot his name. I had an article I was gonna read from, but this apparently is because the Audrey was living. Her father had custody of her. This is the father's roommate, and I also believe that the father's mother, Audrey's grandmother, lived in the residence. And in this press conference, because I did listen, was watching Grizzly True Crimes Live. When they were doing this press conference, he has been named the prime person of interest. From everything they've said, unfortunately, right now we're holding on to hope. We always got to have hope, but just from the information they were given at the afternoon press conference, not looking good. They have found. Sorry for drinking on camera, but they have found her backpack or what they think is her backpack, and some different things down around this waterfront, around this dam down there. And they're asking anybody in certain locations and during certain times within the last, or since Thursday when she went missing, to check any cameras they may have at their homes, or like Ring doorbells, security cameras. Go watch, after this, of course, go watch Grizzly True Crimes when she covered the press conference, because before the press conference started, she gave all the information leading up to where it currently stands now. So once again, Audrey Cunningham. We're definitely going to keep our eye on this case. You guys are quiet, so you might not have heard any new information about this. But anyway, we're definitely going to keep our eye on this one. And that is, what is his name? McDougal is his last name. I want to say Don McDougal or Don Stephen McDougal. Apparently, from what Gisela said, he has a lengthy criminal history, including things involving minors. So, very scary, sad situation right now. All right, let's see. Okay, so now that we're 30 minutes in, we will get to the case at hand. This is the case of Kevin Ives and Don Henry. It is from 1987. From Arkansas. And I called it Death on the Tracks. And you'll see why if you've never heard of this case. Show of hands, anybody in here who has heard of this case, knows anything about this case, or if this is the first time you've heard about it, just while I'm kind of explaining a little bit about this. Of course, it was one of the biggest cases here in Arkansas. Full disclosure, it has gotten us a lot of national exposure. Unfortunately, it is parts of this story, not or including this one particular piece of the tip of the iceberg that we're going to talk about tonight, has been subject to numerous conspiracy theories. I'm not saying I believe them or don't believe them. I'm just saying, and we're not going to concentrate so much on the conspiracy theory parts of it, but I will include any information in that regard that is pertinent to this case. So, was it accident? Was it homicide? Like I said, there's conspiracies, there's alleged police, law enforcement, and government cover-ups, and things of that nature. Let's just say it that way. So, just to give you the sources that I use for the main information about the actual crime itself, and in my opinion, so I said at the first, is it an accident? Was it homicide? Was it self-harm? Those have all been come into question. In my opinion, just from everything I know, from living here, hearing about this case all my life, or since it happened, all the information I've come across and researched, in my opinion, this was a homicide. In my opinion, yes, I believe that there could possibly be some cover-up going on as far as some local law enforcement, but higher up government agencies and officials. I'll just put it that way. But I will give you the information and let you guys make your own decisions. So the Encyclopedia of Arkansas is where I got the information about the actual crime that happened that we're going to talk about, the deaths of Kevin Ives and Don Henry. The Encyclopedia of Arkansas is on the Central Arkansas Library System website, so it is all credible information, no conspiracy theories coming from here. So that's where the basic information about what happened to Kevin and Dawn comes from. I also use a little bit of stuff from idfiles.com. Now, idfiles.com, for full disclosure, because whenever I'm sharing stories and cases, I like to be open, honest, transparent, where I get all this information. idfiles, the I and the D stands for, the I stands for Linda Ives, who is Kevin Ives' mother. The D stands for Jean Duffy, who back when this was going on, she was appointed, they formed a drug task force. She was appointed the head of the drug task force. According to her, as soon as the day of or the day after that she was appointed to head this drug task force, some higher up officials came in, and this is just according to her. This is part of speculation or not confirmed from actual reports. But that's not to say that is not true, because this site contains a lot of official documents, court documents, government records, all the way up to CIA records, FBI records, local Arkansas State Police records, Saline County, which is the county this happened in, this crime we're going to talk about happened in, Benton City records. But Jean Duffy, according to her, said that when she was appointed the head of this new drug task force, that a higher up official came in and told her that she was not allowed to investigate any law enforcement or higher up government officials that may be involved in substance, anything to do with illegal substances, basically. Now, this is according to her. From what I've read and know from research, I tend to believe her, but all the links to all these sources, I think I've already put them in the description box, so please check out the Encyclopedia of Arkansas information. Check out the, if you want to know the more in-depth stuff that I'm not going to go in here, because some of the things that they mention, even though it is based on things that they know from government official documents, it's never been publicly, a lot of it has been redacted. It was not allowed to be released to the public. But it's all there. You can go to this site and it will give you every piece of information, document, and opinion according to Linda Ives, who once again is Kevin Ives, one of the victim's mother, Jean Duffy, who was appointed until, in my opinion, she was getting a little bit too close to the truth. They booted her out, ran her out of the state. And the team that they put together to through the FOIA Act, get access to all this information. So you can go and check it out, read everything there is to read there, and make your own decisions. And I also came across, this is a YouTube channel called Carnage on Ice. And they have a playlist called Murder on the Tracks. I know I'm not supposed to use the M word, but I included a link to the whole playlist, once again, in the description box. The person who runs this channel, or ran it, nothing has been posted in about a year, kind of worked in conjunction after Jean Duffy and Linda Ives discovered these videos. They the creator of this channel kind of worked in conjunction with them. Very interesting videos. I suggest you watch them. Once again, you can take, if you think it's conspiracy or leans one way or another, that is your right. But what the information that this gentleman gives is, in my opinion, backed up once again with official documents. Very interesting information. It'll make you think just a little bit or a lot. So you can check that out. So I think that is all the places that I got my info. There are a couple of more places that I got a little bit of information from that I'm going to read from later on. I think I've already linked them in the description box. But I just wanted to bring up those three and explain to you where this information is coming from and why I use these particular sites. So with that out of the way, if your guys are not leaving in droves by now. So once again, full disclosure, this case did turn into a nationwide, if not worldwide, small part of a nation and worldwide bigger case. And when we get into it, I'll go into a little bit of what the higher conspiracy theories and things of that nature are. But Mara Leverett wrote a book called The Boys on the Tracks, Death Denial, and a Mother's Crusade to Bring Her Son's Offenders to Justice. Mara Leverett also wrote Devil's Knot, which was about the West Memphis 3 case. She is a very respected journalist, author around these parts. So some information that was found on the ID Files site may quote some things from her book, so I just want to include that here. But we will get into it. So the apparent homicide in Saline County in 1987 of 17-year-old Kevin Ives and 16-year-old Don Henry has spurred ongoing controversy, including conspiracy theories tying their deaths to a substance smuggling scandal. We'll get a little bit into that. The case was a subject of, as I said, Mara Leverett's award-winning book, The Boys on the Tracks. So I just wanted you to know that, usually I cover cases that you don't hear about much. And I struggled. I actually have been struggling for a long time about whether I wanted to do a video on this case or not. But I finally made the decision to do it because of the victims. So no matter what information that we're going to get into or discussion we may get into later on about, possible conspiracies, possible government cover-ups, the heart of the story is Kevin Ives and Don Henry. Almost 40 years, no justice, no answers. Nobody has ever been charged in this case. I think it is actually, and I know the information is in one of these slides later on, was officially closed without anybody ever being supposedly really investigated, in my opinion. Nobody was ever charged. No persons of interest or potential suspects were ever named publicly. Once again, that goes back to the allegations. But anyway, I just wanted to, full disclosure. So on Sunday, August 23rd of 1987, around 4 a.m. in the morning, the bodies of the two boys, Kevin and Don, were spotted by the crew of a Union Pacific locomotive near Crooked Creek Trestle in Alexander, which is crosses over kind of between Pulaski and Saline counties. Saline County plays a big part in this story, so remember Saline County. The bodies were lying between the tracks. And when they mean between the tracks, they were laid out. Trying to say, if the tracks ran this way, you can see it ran this way. The boys were laying, their legs were laying over the tracks. Because I have seen, I don't think it was actual real pictures, but recreation pictures. Part of their leg, their bottom half of their legs was on the outside of the track. There were like their butt and their back would be in the middle of the track, and then their heads would be on the other side of the track. So they were kind of, if you had the two tracks here, they would have been laid out in the middle, side by side, straight line, hands down to their side. There was also a firearm that was laid, I believe. I don't know if it was between them, but it was in there very close to where they were laid out. So, like I said, the bodies were lying between the tracks. wrapped in a pale green tarp. This tarp will come into question later on. There was a firearm nearby. And like I said, it was either in between them, the two boys, or laying to one side of one of the boys. The train was unable to avoid running over the bodies. The train's crew immediately reported the incident to railroad officials and to local law enforcement at Benton, which is in Saline County, Arkansas, where the train had come to a full stop. By 4:40 a.m., local and state police had arrived on the scene and began their investigation. At first, local officials treated this incident like an apparent self-harm, despite the objections of the train crew. So, in regard to what they mean by the objections of the train crew, when the train crew spotted, at first what they didn't know were two bodies laying on across the tracks, covered in a tarp or some kind of green cloth. Of course, they immediately got on the horn, the bells, whistles, everything you do, put the brakes on to try to stop or to warn. When they finally did realize it was two people laying on the tracks, everything in their power to try to warn them. They said they did not move. There was a tarp, according to them, laying across the bodies. Unfortunately, they weren't, like I said, able to stop in time. They did run over the bodies. But when the police investigated, reportedly no tarp was found by the police. Although you had the engineer, two or more of the crew, and an EMT that arrived who saw this tarp, it mysteriously disappeared. So that is the story behind the tarp. So no tarp was found by the police who were investigating, but they did take in a shattered .22 caliber rifle as evidence, and this was the firearm that was laying on the tracks with the bodies. You guys are quiet. There's only two people here. I may have ran everybody off by now. That's okay. You can watch on replay. So, the two victims were best friends, Kevin Ives and Don Henry. So that night, they had been out hunting late at night on Saturday night, August 22nd, which in Arkansas and in these parts, we call it spotlighting deer, which is very illegal. You take a high-powered flashlight or some kind of high-powered light, you shine it, reflects in the whatever animal, it's usually deer down here, eyes, it kind of stuns them. The other person takes a shot. Like I said, very illegal, but very common down here in those days, at least. Not so much now, because rightfully so, the Fish and Game cracked down on that. But anyway, supposedly they had been out spotlighting deer or just hanging out. But when they could not be found the next morning, their parents began to search for them. The spot where their bodies were found was only a mile or so away from the home of Don Henry's family in Alexander. On Monday, local officials contacted the Ives and Henry families after the two boys had been identified conclusively through dental records, because, once again, without getting too graphic, you can just imagine what being run over by a train would do to a human body. Just going to put it that way. So they were conclusively identified through dental records. This story was covered statewide, and soon it was covered nationally. State officials, including the state medical examiner, Dr. Fahmy Malik, who is another character in this story, this case, ruled the boys' deaths an apparent self-harm. despite the fact that all four parents disputed the ruling. And we will get into why the parents, after they found out some other information, disputed this fact that this was not an accident, that the boys took their own lives, and so on and so forth. So a week, let me get a quick drink. Hey, hello, Michelle C. Good to have you here, my dear. I was thinking everybody was abandoning me. I'm just droning on here, trying to get through this as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Always good to have you here, Michelle. We're talking about, in case you just came in, we're talking about the Kevin Ives and Don Henry case from Arkansas, 1987. Just a small tip of the iceberg part of what a lot of people consider a very large conspiracy and cover-up on government and national levels. But we'll touch on that a little bit. But like I said, I don't want to make that the focus of the whole thing here. Once again, these Kevin and Dawn, the victims, getting their story out there and trying to find some justice or some answers for them is the most important. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for being here. So a week after Kevin and Dawn were buried, excuse me, their parents were summoned to the office of State Medical Examiner Fahmy Malik. So according to Dr. Malik, he said that he changed his story. So first he ruled it self-harm. A week later, he calls the parents in and says that this was an accidental death due to THC, Mary Jane, intoxication. And as THC, for anybody who doesn't know, is a component of Mary Jane. So Malik's theory was that the two boys had smoked enough substance that they simply fell asleep on the tracks the night before, or that night before being run over by the train. So a show of hands or comments about, now I can't speak to this because I've stated before, I've only partook of the Mary Jane once, maybe twice in my life in my early 30s. So I can't speak on if this is even possible that you could, and we're going to get into some other, because other autopsies were done, because this one would most definitely come into question. If this is even possible that you could smoke enough Mary Jane, we'll say, because I know YouTube doesn't like certain words when it comes to substances, to make you, I know there are certain substances, the harder stuff that you can possibly take that can knock you out for a while. I mean, that's the whole referring to the going back to the Kansas City Chiefs fans. That's what the question is what did they take that could possibly make them be so out of it or passed out that they froze to death. So anyway, local authorities did not question Fahmy Malik's findings, but the parents did, and they were motivated to conduct their own investigation. And this Fahmy Malik, who I know, like I said, from living in Arkansas all my life, and knowing this story and other stories, other incidents pertaining to then medical examiner Fahmy Malik, this was not the first time that he had given a questionable autopsy report. Let's just put it that way. So Michelle says, I always rewatch if I can't catch you live. I've also fallen asleep a few times and rewatched in the morning. I do the same thing. Michelle, don't feel bad. I'll watch start binge watching, trying to get caught up on the creators that I've missed, the lives and that I've missed, and I'll fall asleep. And I'll always go back and finish watching them. But I completely understand what you're saying, Michelle. All right. Okay, so we have Dr. Malik, who first initially ruled it self-harm. And then a week later, he called the parents in and says, no, it was an accident. They smoked enough Mary Jane that they passed out on the tracks, and they were so passed out and incapacitated from this, Mary Jane, that they didn't see the lights coming at them. They didn't hear all the bells and whistles and horns and screeching of the brakes. It wasn't enough to rouse them to move off the tracks. So that it was his second report, his second version of what he thought happened in this case. All right, so according to Mara Leverett, who I said, anybody who wasn't here at the beginning, Mara Leverett wrote a book about this case, The Boys on the Tracks. According to Mara Leverett, Dr. Malik had been, and I had, this is not just according to Mara Leverett, this is common knowledge here in Arkansas. Dr. Fahmy Malik had been accused by his own staff of keeping what they called outdated crime lab stationery, on which he allegedly, and I have to put allegedly, falsified findings in autopsy reports just before certain cases went to court. Moreover, the hospital where the boys were taken to and examined kept no records of their presence there, that they had ever been there. The hospital clerk told an investigator, per Mara Leverett, according to what she says in her book, quote, that's why the families were not billed, because they were never officially checked in. However, a medical report found by an EMT had done a medical report at the tracks that night, noted that the boys' blood, quote, looked like it lacked oxygen, which I take that to mean, now I do and did have very good friends who are EMTs, and just from listening to them talk, if their blood, what they call, looked like it lacked oxygen, that would mean that they were most likely deceased before they were run over by the train. And that is just one of the pieces of evidence that makes this most likely a homicide. So that raised questions about whether Kevin and Dawn were already deceased when the train hit them. So, you guys following me so far? I'm trying to be quick and efficient. We're already an hour in. But so we have Dr. Malik once again with all his alternating theories about what happened. Sorry, I forgot to turn off notifications on my phone, and they keep popping up. All right, so we got Dr. Malik. And keep all these players, as I call them, in mind, because we'll be referring back to them later on. So in March of 1988, get another drink. Sorry about getting a drink, but my throat gets scratchy. So pictured here on the left are Kevin Ives' parents, Linda Ives, and shame on me, I can't think of, I think his dad's name was Gary, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But guess he wasn't, Kevin's mom was the spokesperson when it came to this case as far as her son was concerned. The husband, of course, supported her, but he kind of stayed in the background, and she was the face in this trying to find out what happened to her son. So in March of 1988, the parents announced that Dr. James Garrett of San Antonio, Texas, had given a second opinion on Dr. Malik's findings. So Dr. Garrett concluded that it was highly unlikely for any amount of THC exposure to have the effects that Malik, Dr. Fahmy Malik of Arkansas, who was Arkansas State Medical Examiner at the time, had alleged, and that the only truly reliable test for the presence of drugs in the boy's system would be mass spectrometry, which apparently had not been performed. So we have, once again, this is just this one doctor's opinion, but it is an out-of-state doctor, does not have a dog, as far as we know. Now, with this case, you never know. As far as we know, does not have a dog in the fight, does not have anything to lose or gain by making his opinion known, who says there is no way that, because Dr. Malik had said that, according to his opinion, Dr. Malik's opinion, that the boys had smoked the equivalent of like 20 joints. And that's why, therefore, they had that much THC in their system to make them pass out on the tracks and not be able to get roused up enough with all the commotion of the train coming to be able to get out of the way. So, another toxicologist from North Carolina, Dr. Arthur McBray, according to him, now once again, this is his opinion, but once again, out-of-state doctor, as far as we know, doesn't have any a dog in the fight, as I call it. He said that Dr. Malik's conclusions were, quote, very bizarre. And I tend to agree. You guys feel free in chat or watching replay to let me know. Just be respectful of everybody involved, families, and each other in chat. And that Dr. McBray from North Carolina said that he had never heard of anyone becoming unconscious from exposure to any amount of THC. Like I said, that's his opinion. But to me, these two, Dr. Garrett from San Antonio and Dr. McBray from North Carolina, sound their theories or opinions make a little bit more sense, in my opinion, than Dr. Malik. Like I said, I'm not a partaker of Mary Jane. I don't even drink anymore, hardly. Now, I know if you drink or smoke or do whatever, partake of enough of anything, you can pass out. But the extent to which Dr. Fahmy Malik, his opinion, just has never made sense to me and to a lot of people. Let's just put it that way. So we have these two opinions of these other doctors that were called in by family members, by Kevin Ives, and I believe definitely by Kevin Ives' family, and I think because Don Henry's family, you didn't hear a lot from the publicly on TV or interviews about this case. Like I said, Linda Ives was the main spokesperson face of this case to try to get to the truth of what happened to these to her son Kevin and to his friend Don. So we have the two we're up to the two differing opinions or differing theories from these other two doctors. So keep that in mind. So, however, aside from these two other doctors coming in to say that, look, this is our opinion, at least just check it out. Then Saline County Sheriff James Steed Jr., once again, keep all these people in mind because they're going to come back around, repeatedly told the Benton Courier that there was nothing at the tracks that night to suggest that it was nothing more than a, quote, strange accident. Linda Ives, mother of Kevin Ives, criticized Sheriff Steed's administration in a letter that she had published in the Benton Courier. After that, Dan Harmon, definitely keep that name in mind. Dan Harmon, who was at that time the parents' lawyer representing them, made a deal with Sheriff Steed in February of 1988, and the deal was if the parents of these two boys who lost their lives would withdraw all their criticism of good Sheriff Steed, that they would get the investigation that they had wanted all along. Now, show of hands, anybody out there, does that sound right to you guys? So they're basically saying the only way that we are going to investigate this matter further is if you quit criticizing the people who should have been investigating it in the first place. Is it just me, or things a little hinky? So we have good Sheriff James Steed here in the picture. So 6 months after the incident, yet another doctor comes in, Dr. Joseph Burton. So 6 months after the incident, a 3-day-long hearing was held in the, once again, Saline County Courthouse in Benton, with the Ives and the Henry families hoping to get a new ruling about these COD and the general circumstances of this supposed accident. With the help of lawyers, Dan Henry and Richard Garrett, another name to keep in mind, Malek's ruling of accidental was overturned, but this result was hardly definitive. On February 26, 1988, 5 days after the hearing, the cause of the boys' deaths was changed once again from accidental to undetermined. So we've made it from self-harm to accidental due to THC intoxication to now undetermined. Making progress. So following the discovery of new information after a second autopsy of the two boys' bodies were done by Georgia medical examiner Dr. Joseph Burton, who is pictured here on the left, the case was put before a grand jury in April of 1988. That May, an editorial in the Benton Courier posited the possibility that the boys may have, it may be a homicide. A month after that, the grand jury ruled their deaths a probable homicide. So now we've made it up to probable homicide. And before leaving Arkansas, Dr. James Burton told Richard Garrett, who was one of the family, started out as another one of the attorneys for the family. So before leaving Arkansas, Dr. Joseph Burton told Garrett that per his calculations, the boys had only smoked the equivalent of 1 to 2 joints before their deaths. So we have a third doctor who is coming in. Once again, this is just his opinion based on his expertise, his knowledge, his findings after doing a second autopsy. A third doctor that is saying that Dr. Fahmy Malek, or medical examiner Dr. Fahmy Malek, is way off base, basically is what they were saying. Thanks, P9. P9 says they're heading to bed. Thank you so much for popping in. Good to have you here. It's always good to have everybody here. Have a good night. Have a good rest of your weekend and a good week. Okay. So going back to Richard Garrett. So at some point, NBC or Unsolved Mysteries did feature this case as a segment on one of their episodes in the fall of 1988. When asked about his thoughts on the case, Richard Garrett, who at the time was still, I believe, supposedly representing the family members, he alleged that the boys, quote, saw something they should not have seen, and it had to do with illegal substances. So despite the grand jury's announcement that the boys' deaths may have been related allegedly to substance trafficking, Sheriff Steed, once again, refused to allow any funds to aid in the investigation. Turns out that Sheriff Steed, had also lied about where he had sent the boys' clothes for examination. So according to Mara Leverett and official documents, Sheriff Steed has sent the clothes to the Arkansas State Crime Lab as opposed to sending them to the FBI, where apparently he was supposed to send them to the FBI, and he didn't do that. And just as a side note, Sheriff Steed was not reelected as county sheriff following his involvement with this case. So we'll just leave it at that. So we have Richard Garrett in the mix. So the focus of the investigation has now turned toward allegations. Once again, at that time, and still to this day, 37 years later, just allegations that the boys' deaths has something to do with substance trafficking, and allegations and theories and the belief that additional people were thought to be connected to this crime or to have information about the crime. People who knew each other and supposedly knew things about what Mara Leverett in her book calls the county's drug underworld. I'm just going to say it. Now, I can speak on, and when they are talking about county, they're talking about Saline County in Arkansas. Saline County has, back in the day, has always been, to my knowledge, still is, a hotbed of drug activity, drug distribution, possible drug trafficking. There's always reports in the local news about things that are happening in Saline County. So I can speak to that part when they talk about when Mara Leverett is discussing the drug underworld in Saline County. So we're back to Dan Harmon, who started out as, once again, another one of the family lawyers. So Judge John Cole appointed Dan Harmon to head the Saline County grand jury investigation into the homicides of Kevin and Dawn, because and I thought I included it, and maybe in a later slide, but I believe in the second autopsy that Joseph Burton did, who was a doctor, coroner, medical examiner from Georgia, he did find that Dawn, and we're going to be a little bit, I'm trying not to be too graphic, but Don Henry's, in his findings, in his opinion, Don Henry's skull had been crushed by the shape of it, skull had been crushed with the butt of a rifle, and that there were at least one, but 2 or 3 stab wounds in the back of Kevin Ives. So If you need any more, want or need any more evidence that this is what they call a probable homicide, there's some more evidence, or I'll let you make your own decision. So, Judge John Cole, once again, keep Judge John Cole in your head. He appoints Dan Harmon to head the grand jury investigation into these probable homicides of Kevin and Dawn. So the most significant thing to come out of this grand jury investigation was the disappearances, alleged, I had to put alleged in there, disappearances or unalivings of informants and witnesses who allegedly saw or knew who was with the boys, Kevin and Dawn, on the tracks that night. So this is where we kind of have to touch on a little bit of the conspiracy and alleged cover-up angle. So I have just a brief chronology of what occurred during the grand jury hearings. It started on, it ended on September 9th. It started on August 23rd, 1987. And I'll have to see if I can read this small writing. So October 23rd, 1987, that is when Kevin Ives and Don Henry were killed, lying on the railroad tracks near Alexander. August 25th, Saline County Sheriff's Office rules out foul play. So 2 days later. September 4th, the deaths were ruled accidental by the state medical examiner, Fahmy Malik. He says it was a substance-induced sleep, coma, whatever he called it. October 30th, the boys' families filed court action to obtain medical examiner's files, and they hired a private investigator. February 10th, 1988, the families request a grand jury investigation. They don't accept Dr. Malik's his determination that it was THC induced due to all this other evidence that we've been talking about that is stacking up here. The fact that you had this disputing crime scene, the missing tarp, the missing green tarp. One of the other doctors that was called in for a second autopsy said that Don Henry's skull had been crushed by most likely the butt of a rifle. There were stab wounds in the shirt and the body, in the back, at least one stab wound, maybe two, to Kevin Ives' back. So you have all this evidence that is stacking up to the contrary of Fahmy Malik's saying that it was THC-induced accident. So February 11th, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Richard Garrett, once again, Richard Garrett, announces prosecutor's investigation. February 18th to the 22nd, the prosecutors are investigating, and Fahmy Malik is staking his jobs on what they're going to find, on the findings of this grand jury investigation. March 16th, Richard Garrett seeks exhumation of the bodies, and he now says that the deaths were probably homicide. March 19th, Circuit Judge John Cole, we have John Cole again, of Sheridan does order exhumations. March 26th, 2 out-of-state medical investigators who we talked about before, hired to review Malik's office, the whole office, not just this case. March 29th, Dr. Joe Burton of Atlanta is hired to conduct another autopsy. April 5th, Dr. Burton performs the autopsies, and he discounts Dr. Malik's this sleep theory, THC-induced coma theory. April 27th, the grand jury is sworn in. May 11th, investigation called the grand jury investigation is called a, quote, personal vendetta against Dr. Fahmy Malik by Ralph Turbeville, another Arkansas character, and against the State Crime Laboratory, who is the State Crime Lab Assistant Director. May 26th, the grand jury rules the deaths probable homicides. August 30th, a reward of $10,000 for information is offered by the parents. September 2nd, Judge Cole demands progress, and he threatens to dissolve the grand jury unless they come to some kind of decision. Even though on, let's see, when was it? They had already said that the grand jury had already said that that was a probable homicide. September 2nd, Judge Cole is demanding progress, or he's going to dissolve the grand jury. And September 9th, it is announced that the grand jury rules the deaths as homicides. So, from August 23rd to September 9th was the grand jury investigation. And I say that sarcastically, not against the jurors, or I'm assuming they're called jurors, that did the investigate, that were a part of the grand jury investigation, but what happens afterwards, through no fault of these jurors. So, good old Dan Harmon's lengthy investigation into this case resulted in absolutely nothing. Nada. No one was charged with the murders, though members of the grand jury did prepare a 5-page report. Judge Cole ordered that it not be released. Now, I do not know. I'm not a legal expert. If somebody's here now watching, or in chat, or watching replay, I don't know if it is common practice that you do not release the findings of a grand jury. In all the grand jury proceedings, and usually they're criminal, and this was because later on we'll discuss when we get into a little bit of the supposed allegations and supposed alleged cover-ups and misdeeds of some of the people we've been talking about. We'll get into it. They've always released the findings of the grand jury, and it usually leads to an indictment of someone. So they'll announce, okay, the grand jury met, they heard the evidence or whatever, and they returned. They said, yes, it was a homicide or whatever, and so they can indict such and such, the offender. Now, I could be completely off base, but that's just what I've always thought of as a grand jury. So, and I do have some, so y'all, I know y'all getting tired of listening to me rattle, and I need to give my voice a rest. I do have, here in a minute, a couple of video clips I'm going to play of good old Judge Cole. And we're going to go back to the most fruitful thing that came out of this grand jury investigation. So, Judge Cole goes on to, so far as to praise this grand jury investigation, this, what they say, fruitless exercise. So the jurors were frustrated, and this information, this wording comes from, full transparency, comes from the ID Files website, which is run by Kevin Ives' mother, Jean Duffy, who was appointed the head of at that time in '87 newly formed drug task force, where she was subsequently run out of the state. We'll get to her later. So, according, and it's not just the two, the general consensus was that these jurors were very frustrated. They likely knew that they were experiencing an alleged cover-up of some sort on some level, and that Cole just dismissed them, saying that they weren't allowed, their findings were not going to be released. They were not going to be allowed to talk about anything that they heard, any testimony or anything that heard at the grand jury. They couldn't discuss it out of, and once again, this may be standard operating procedure. I don't know. But he basically told them, keep your mouth shut about anything you've heard in here as it pertains to any law enforcement or higher up government officials that could possibly, or that were, because I have read some official documents, were named as possibly, allegedly having something to do with either the deaths or the cover up of the deaths of Kevin Ives and Don Henry. I'll just put it that way. So let's see. Junior Johnson's here, or were you already here and I'm just so behind? Hey, Junior, good to have you here. It's always good to have everybody here. I hope you guys are hanging in with me. I know this is a long one and tedious, but I'm promising we're getting somewhere. We're going to get somewhere. It's going to start making some more sense when some of this these videos I'm going to play for you come up. Oh, Dave, or Al on the Prowl, Dave said he had to let the dogs out. Now we know who let the dogs out. Sorry, that was a horrible joke. I'm sorry. I apologize. Junior says, I'm not sure, but a grand jury results are not always released. Yeah. See, that's why I ask you guys, because you guys are smart. As I said, I don't know about, but I just know that this was controversial. But I think to me, the most, and it may be that, but just, I have to be careful how I put this, because just of everything that I know and have researched and the documents I've looked at, and I definitely, you guys, if you're interested, definitely go to all these sites. They're linked in the description box. The Arkansas Encyclopedia website that gives the basic, most definite, true information about the description of the incident. Definitely check out the idfiles.com. There is so much information there. I'm not saying you have to believe it or accept it. That's your decision to make, but it is worth taking a look at. And yes, it is, of course, going to be slanted towards, since it is done by Kevin Ives' mother and Gene Duffy, who was head of the one-time head of the drug task force that they set up back then. They back up in my opinion, they back up most of their claims with government documents that they sit there and the link to this channel, Carnage on Ice, where I found the series of videos that was done about this. Once again, supported through the FOIA Act with government documents, court documents, all the way up to CIA documents, DEA documents, FBI documents, any documents you can think of. This person had access to, either through his FOIA request or the sharing of these documents by Gene Duffy, who was an official who had access to these documents. So I'm just saying, you don't have to believe it, but it's definitely, and I spent the last week watching, I think there's five main videos from Carnage on Ice, this YouTube channel that lays it out very eloquently, very easy to understand. And then he did some supplements. But yeah, just check it out if you are interested in knowing the finer details and the deep dives about this case. So, all right. Dave says it's cold. I bet it is. It's actually been warm. Well, it was warm here yesterday, and now it's back down in the 40s here in Arkansas. So typical Arkansas weather. Okay, Junior says they didn't release the grand jury results for JonBenet Ramsey's case for years. Excellent. Yeah. See, like I said, I'm not by any means a legal expert, but I think it wasn't so much and see, I don't know about if because they dismissed I can't really move the thing and see if it's down here. I don't know if I've got to it yet, but I believe they said they dismissed the findings. So I don't know what that means in regards to a grand jury, but they said they dismissed the findings. So that means that they didn't take it into account. I believe it said they dismissed the findings or whatever. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to show you really quickly if I can find the right one. And this is a quick, okay, let me take this down for a minute. This is just about 45 seconds long. This is what Judge Cole had to tell the grand jury after their findings.
The 8-month-long grand jury investigation into Kevin and Don's murder came to an abrupt halt December 31st, 1988. Last-minute legal maneuvering by Harmon, Garrett, and presiding judge John Cole prevented the jurors from revealing their findings in the final report. The men and women of the grand jury were sent home frustrated that they had not been allowed to do their job.
The Saline County Special Grand Jury has now disbanded. 3 hours ago, it delivered its final report on the deaths of 2 teenage boys. But the grand jury was not allowed to do what it wanted.
I know that because you could not repeat in the report much of the testimony that you heard and evidence that you received, that you are somewhat frustrated by it. And that's understandable.
Okay, so that is what, take that off and put that back up. That is what Judge Cole had to say after the grand jury gave them, however it works, the grand jury came to the conclusion that, in their opinion, from the evidence they heard, that it was most definitely homicides. And in some later information we're going to get into a little bit, that there were people who should be, in their opinion, from the evidence they heard, there were people, some of them allegedly law enforcement officers, government, city, county government officials, or higher. Well, maybe not higher than county, maybe state officials, should have been indicted, but the judge just basically said, no, we're not going to do it. I mean, like I said, I have not, you guys have been, Junior and maybe Dave or whoever's been telling me about, I don't know how this works. You know, I'm not an expert, but they basically just dismissed what the jury's findings and didn't do anything. So you know, that's the big or one of the I hate to use the word tentacles because that comes up in the Delphi case, but one of the things that so Junior says the grand jury indicted the Ramsey, but prosecutors refused to charge them. And I think that's basically what happened, because we're going to get a little bit more into after we take a look at everybody who started getting unalived after, coincidentally, after this grand jury where names were named. And the video, that is about a 5-minute video, but very interesting. So thank you, Junior, for trying to keep me up to date on the how the grand juries work. Appreciate it very much. Okay, so we are going to, and while this is going on, I am going to turn off my cam and mute myself, so because I really need to cough and get a drink, and because this video it's just a little under 5 minutes, but pay really close attention. Now, like I said, you can once you, and it comes from, it's a compilation, I believe it's a compilation of clips, because there is a documentary that was done in 1996, I want to say. It's called Obstruction of Justice, Mina, something about Mina. Anyway, I'll find a link to it. It's taken from clips of it that this web or YouTube channel, Carnage on Ice, put together about, because, let me go back and find, oh, I'm past it. Okay, so it says, we're going to go back to the statement that says the most significant occurrence to come out of this grand jury investigation that we've been talking about was the disappearances or unalivings of alleged informants and witnesses who allegedly saw or knew who was with the boys, Kevin and Don, on the tracks that night that they lost their lives. So that is what this video is concerning. Get back to, like I said, I'm going to turn off my cam and mute my mic for a minute, but I will be back after the video is over. Dave says, it's been a crazy week. We'll email you soon about doing a live together. Yes, email me whenever. No pressure, no hurry. Whenever you get time, email me about doing it live, whenever it's convenient for you. Because I know you have a schedule. Right now, I don't have anything that because I'm not working right now. I'm filling out applications for jobs right now, but as of right now, I've so yeah, definitely just whenever you have time, Dave, email me. All right, so we're going to get into this video. I'm trying not, I got to go back out and do it from my phone. I will be back, hopefully. I'm just going to mute my, let's see, I'll get rid of
The 8-month-long grand jury.
Get that away. Okay, there's the one I'm trying to get to. Okay, so, and I am, do it before I forget. Definite trigger warning on this video I'm about to show. So I'm going to leave that up there. I don't think it'll cover anything up that's pertinent. Definite trigger warning. So if you're sensitive, it's not too graphic, but trigger warning nonetheless. All right, so.
May 1988. Keith Coney, who was believed to be with Kevin and Don that night, told friends and family members that law enforcement officials were responsible for the murders. 2 days later, he was killed when his motorcycle crashed while he was being chased. According to some officers, his throat had previously been slashed, and he was apparently fleeing his attackers when he lost control. However, this crucial information was left out of the final report. There was no autopsy or investigation.
And I don't think it was an accident because he was fearing for his life, a couple of months before. He said a couple of times that he knew people, that he was being watched, and he was afraid.
Mrs. Alexander says her son knew the two teenagers run over by the train, and she says he indicated to her he had been there when the boys had died, that he spotted two attackers.
But he knew there was two there. I did try to get him to tell me who, and he was either afraid or didn't know.
November 1988. Keith McCaskill, who was allegedly at the tracks that night, turned over information he had about the boys' murders to Richard Garrett. Believing he had talked to the wrong people, McCaskill had made his own funeral arrangements, told family and friends goodbye, and within days was murdered himself, stabbed 113 times. His murder remains unsolved.
The night of elections in 1988, he took 2 pennies out of his pocket and threw them on the bar there at the wagon wheel and said, "If Jim Steed loses this election, my life isn't worth 2 cents." And he was murdered that night.
Harmon, Garrett, and members of the Arkansas police suddenly found themselves in the awkward position of having to try and convince the public that the deaths of these key witnesses, coming at a crucial point in the investigations, were merely a coincidence.
I think that Mr. McCaskill was probably suffering from a lot of paranoia. And right now the indications are that nobody else was involved.
Might there have been a reason, though, for his paranoia?
I'm sure there was a reason for his paranoia.
Because he had talked to the police or the prosecutor?
I don't know that would be the reason.
What about the murder? Is it connected at all with the grand jury investigation?
Not that we know of.
McCaskill was a witness in the Bryant train deaths investigation. Although police haven't ascertained a motive for the murder, they say there's no connection.
Link this investigation to the deaths of Don Henry or Kevin Ives, and I don't foresee anything in the pursuance of the rest of this investigation that would be anything that would make me change my mind.
Those believing in a massive cover-up by police and elected officials, which included the possible murder of witnesses, watched in horror as the death toll continued to climb. January 1989. Greg Collins, who failed to appear after being subpoenaed to testify before Kevin and Don's grand jury, was killed by a shotgun blast to the face. His murder remains unsolved. March 1989. Booney Bearden, a friend of both Coney and Collins, disappeared. An article of Bearden's clothing was found in the vicinity where an anonymous caller claimed his murder had taken place. His body was never recovered. April 1989. Jeff Rhodes was murdered after telling his family he knew too much about Kevin, Don, and McCaskill's murders. Rhodes had been shot in the head and his remains set on fire in a dump. July 1989. Richard Winters, another grand jury witness, was gunned down during a robbery, which apparently was staged to cover his murder. His case remains unsolved. June 1990. Jordan Kettleson, who was believed to be connected to the McCaskill murder, was killed by a shotgun blast to the head. There was no police investigation, and his body was cremated before an autopsy could be performed. June 1995. Mike Samples, another grand jury witness, was shot to death. Sources claim he had been involved in retrieving drugs dropped from airplanes. Authorities have denied any connection between these cases and the murders of Kevin and Don.
The people whose testimony might have solved this case years ago have systematically been eliminated. There apparently was a great deal of fear that these people could implicate very powerful players.
Okay. Put this back up. So, any thoughts? You're quiet tonight. I hope it's because you're engrossed in this case and not bored to death. Any thoughts on all these mysterious unalivings that happened by most of these victims were either testified at the grand jury hearing or were believed to have information about alleged persons in high places that either, in some people's opinions, participated in this crime or helped cover it up. That's basically what this video was. So, yeah, let me take my banner down. See what you guys have to say, if anything. Yes, let me go back into full screen. Nope. Hold on. 1 minute. Bear with me. Junior says, never heard of this case, but this sounds crazy. Oh, this, like I said, this is just one small element, one possible alleged incident in a whole big, what a lot of people say, conspiracy theory, which it could be, that reaches all the way up to government and presidential officials. I'm trying to be careful what I say, because even to this day, because back in the day when this happened, there were people, numerous people, who alleged, I had to put alleged, allegedly got death threats if they spoke of anything that they knew concerning not just this crime, well, this crime, but other things that have happened. Because, let's see what my next slide is. Okay, so we'll go to that in a minute. We're going to get into a little bit more explanation of a little bit of the bigger picture. But the basis is, if anybody remembers back in the 1980s, the what they call the Iran-Contra affair, which was what the trading of, had to do with the Sandinistas and what was it, Nicaragua, wherever it was, the trading, the U.S. trading of firearms and substances, and it has to do with that. Supposedly, this a little airstrip in Mena, Arkansas. Yes, Junior. This is the Boys on the Track case. You got it. Kevin Ives and Don Henry. Most definitely. You're on the right track, buddy. No pun intended. I shouldn't have said that. You're on the right case. Yes. So this crime in particular ties into the bigger picture, because it supposedly happened close to this little airstrip in Mena, where planes would fly in and make these drops of illegal substances to be picked up by whoever. Some people say high-ranking government officials, and that this was tied into the dealings, trading of the Iran-Contra thing. And like I said, if you go to the ID Files website, which everything is linked in the description box, go to this Carnage on Ice channel creator who does deep dive videos that explains everything, backed up with official documents through the FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. It makes you wonder. Definitely makes you wonder. Yes, there have been a lot of, Junior says he's listened to a few of the podcasts on this case, True Crime Garage did a good one. Yes. You can go on YouTube if you don't want to watch what I'm suggesting, or any of the websites or the channels. Just go to YouTube, and all you have to put in is Boys on the Tracks, and you will get a whole list of all lots of podcasting creators who have covered this extensively. So please do check it out. Don't just take my word for it. My little channel, like I said, I'm trying to basically stick to trying to get Kevin and Don's case and their families' awareness about this case, but I can't ignore the fact that it could possibly be tied into a much bigger thing. I don't know how to put it. A much bigger conspiracy, controversy, whatever you want to call it. Because like I said, I've grown up, still live in Arkansas. I've heard about this all my life. I have a I have a full disclosure. I have a family member by marriage who is former law enforcement. Back at the time when this was going on, they were still law enforcement. And in this person's capacity as a law enforcement officer and eventual chief of police in the area, he had an occasion within his capacity as chief where he worked with other jurisdictions, with other town jurisdictions, county jurisdictions, the Arkansas State Police, the Little Rock office of the FBI. He did not work directly on this case, thank goodness. But we know that law enforcement talks to each other, and it is this person's opinion, my family member by marriage, along with some other law enforcement who were not directly involved but knew the ins and outs of this case from people who were involved. It was of their opinion that something shady and hinky was going on. That's the best way I can put it without getting in trouble. So, but yeah, it's just one of those cases that there's so many directions and rabbit holes you can go down that, like I said, I'm just trying to for this video, when we're almost 2 hours in, we still got a little bit more to go through. So please, I appreciate you guys here hanging in there with me. I'm sorry about my voice sounding scratchy, but yeah, it is it's something else. It is something else. But yeah, you just, like I said, go to either the internet or YouTube and just put in "boys on the tracks" and it will bring up bukus of stuff about this case. So you can pick and choose what you want to. Thank you, Junior. Junior says he's heading to bed. We're watching the morning. Thank you, Junior, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the good information you gave me. Very much appreciated. So I like having you guys here doing these lives so you can, there's most of you out there are smarter than me when it comes to a lot of this legal stuff and how stuff works. So I love to have your instant input on anything I may have a question or anything I ever get wrong. Don't feel free to jump in and chat and say, hey, nope, that's not how it works. This is how it works. I'm not going to be offended because, like I said, I'm by no means an expert on anything. But thank you, Junior. Good having you here. All right. So now we will get into a little bit of the, as I said, as of 2024, when I'm recording this case happened in 1987. It's almost 37 years old. It's not solved. Nobody has been charged. No persons of interest publicly. No persons of interest or suspects have been named, except, in my opinion, and from what I know in documents that I've read, there were possible persons of interest and or suspects that were named in this grand jury investigation. And in my opinion, that is why, and like Junior said, apparently it is not required for the findings of the grand jury to be released publicly. I think he said they turn over their findings to the district attorney or the prosecuting attorney, and then that's who makes the decision on whether to prosecute somebody. In my opinion, there were people named that were in certain places in society and government, possibly law enforcement, that were named, and it's just been covered up for so long, and that's why we haven't had any answers. Now, that's just my opinion. It's not only my opinion. There are lots and lots of other people whose opinions are, but I'm just giving you this information for you to make your own decision about what you about what your opinion is. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit. So we're back to Dr. Fahmy Malek, who was the medical examiner of Arkansas when this case happened. So this is kind of we're going to go into a little bit of the fallout and the aftermath of what happened after nothing came of this case. Like I said, no arrest, no persons of interest named, no suspects named. So this is Dr. Malek once again. So on September 10th, 1991, 4 years after Kevin and Dawn passed, the announcement was made that Dr. Malek was, his resignation appeared in the Arkansas Gazette, which is our local newspaper, state newspaper. So this is where we get into, and we'll touch on a little bit. So at the time, Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas. So with Governor Bill Clinton's presidential campaign beginning around the same time, some alleged that Dr. Malek had made a deal with then Governor Clinton. But of course, Fahmy Malek repeatedly denied the accusations. Apparently, just going into a little bit of what you can find on the ID files and then on the Carnage on Ice series of videos, apparently, and newspaper reports. Apparently, after all these numerous different opinions that Dr. Malek gave on, first it was he ruled it a self-harm, then it was a accident because of a THC coma, and then he ruled it as a accident and a probable, he kept changing the story. And this was, like I said earlier, if you weren't here, this was not the first time that any of Dr. Malek's autopsies and rulings had been called into question. I could do a whole video on Dr. Malek, but anyway. So, of course, he denied, and supposedly after everything that Dr. Malek, all his shady dealings, he was supposedly offered a raise by the state of Arkansas, approved by then Governor Clinton. But be that as it may, he resigned. Fahmy Malek resigned. So we come to in 1994. Now this is where the part of the conspiracy theory part comes in. In 1994, the Clinton Chronicles, and I have not watched this. I don't even know. I got to research and see if I can find it to watch it. The Clinton Chronicles, which was a quote propaganda video purporting to connect Bill Clinton to various crimes, was released. The case of Kevin and Dawn were among those to which Bill Clinton was supposedly, allegedly connected. The Clinton Chronicles advanced the conspiracy theory that while Clinton was governor of Arkansas, he had a connection to a scandal involving large shipments of coke, firearms, and money from Central America, which passed through Arkansas at the Mena Intermountain Municipal Airport, which is where this was close to where Kevin and Dawn were found deceased. So the theory is that while Kevin and Dawn were out either spotlighting deer, or some say that they were out there, partaking, that they happened to stumble upon one of these drug drops. And that's why their lives were taken, because they stumbled upon this secret drug drop, and that supposedly high-ranking officials were there. Now, I don't know about that part. And that's why they were killed, and that's why this case allegedly has been covered up. That's basically what it boils down to, the easiest way I can explain it. In my opinion, I don't know about this whole tied to the Iran-Contra deal and all this, but in my opinion, at least on the local level, Arkansas level, Saline County level, I think, in my opinion, it's just my opinion. Feel free to let me know in chat or in comments on replay that the boys did probably see something, some kind of transaction or delivery that they weren't supposed to see, and the people it got out of hand and they ended up deceased and it was covered up. And I don't know about all the getting up into the higher government and all that, but I think at least state level, or at the very least Saline County level, like I said early in the video, back then Saline County was and still is a hotbed of activity, distribution, usage. So that's just my opinion, that they probably did just unfortunately stumble upon something that they weren't supposed to see, and unfortunately they lost their lives for it because of it, and it was covered up. But feel free to let me know what you guys think in chat or in comments. So, all right, now we got to get old Bill out of the way here. So I told you to remember names when we were going through the beginning. If you guys are here at the beginning, names, people, what they were did. So we have Dan Harmon, who started out as, he had represented both Kevin Ives and Don Henry's parents in the beginning in this investigation. In 1997, Don Harmon was convicted of racketeering, conspiracy, extortion, possession with intent to deliver. Now, this is all public record, all documented, true facts. He was convicted. So, according to Mara Leverett, who wrote the book, she said in her book that, now this is just her opinion, this part, the above, the conviction for the conspiracy, blah, 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 all fact, all true. So according to Mara Leverett in her book, she says that Dan Harmon's conviction and the resulting just 11-year prison sentence that he got in 1988 proved, at least to the families of Kevin and Dawn, that their son's death, quote, had occurred in an environment of local corruption. Like I said, that part is just the opinion of Mara Leverett and the family. But it makes you wonder, just food for thought. And despite the exhaustive collection of details that Leverett provides in the book, she offers no answers to the questions it raises, and the case remains unsolved. Well, that's the whole problem. No matter who's saying it, if Mara Leverett is saying it in her book, if the families have questions, that's the whole thing. We don't have any answers that, in my opinion, we can trust, truly 100% trust in this case, coming from people who were supposed to have been thoroughly investigating this case. But that's just my opinion. All right, so next we have Judge John Cole. So Judge Cole was a 7th Judicial District Court judge for 24 years. He is now retired, but apparently, I don't know about 2024, but apparently after he retired, he was called upon to preside over trials that perhaps needed to be, quote, handled. This is just all alleged stuff. Now, it is true, a Lono County jury gave Jay Campbell, we'll talk a little bit about Jay Campbell, a concurrent 330-year sentence, and I'll let you know after this what he did to get that sentence. But Judge Cole reduced it on appeal to time served, and Jay Campbell only served a few months in prison. So that was what Judge Cole got up to after the boys on the track incident. So Jay Campbell, and I remember all of this like it happened yesterday. He was a former Lone Oak City police chief back in the day, in the 90s. So it says that Jay Campbell's true character was revealed when, as Lone Oak police chief, he was convicted of running a criminal enterprise for years, and he was sentenced to the 40 years prison sentence that was commuted or worked down to basically a slap on the wrist in a matter of months. And allegedly his wife, Kelly, was his partner in crime. There's a whole other video I could do on this situation too. So that is Jay Campbell. Kirk Lane. We did not mention him before, but he, let's just say let me read it so I won't mess up and say something I shouldn't say. So Kirk Lane, who was appointed by Governor Asa Hutchinson as the Arkansas drug czar on August 7th, 2017. It was 8 years earlier that the mayor of Benton, which is in Saline County, Rick Holland, chose Kirk Lane to be his police chief. But this was under a great deal of protest from some city council members and a very large number of Benton residents because of certain allegations that were made in regards to the boys on the track case. Just leave it at that. You can, once again, Google it, research it yourself, and read all about Kirk Lane. All right, go up for a minute and make sure my just making sure my computer hadn't froze up on me. Okay, so that's Kirk Lane. So we have Richard Garrett, who was once again one of the lawyers who started out as a lawyer that represented the Ives and Henry families. So as of 2024, Richard Garrett is deceased. So all that he knows has gone to the grave with him. Now, this information, full disclosure, comes from the idfiles.com site. So take it as you will. That is the site. The information comes from Linda Ives and G. Duffy, who headed the task force, and their group that compiled all the documents and information. So he's deceased, so all that he knows has gone to the grave with him, although there are rumors, just rumors, that he left a statement about his alleged knowledge of the boys, Kevin and Don's homicides, and it was to be opened 5 years after he passed away. Now, I was going to look and see exactly when he passed away, and I didn't have time to do it when I was reading my slideshow, but I will find that out. But at any rate, so Richard Garrett was Don Harmon, who, full disclosure, also has been named as having certain allegations against him regarding the boys on the track case. So Don Harmon, Richard Garrett has been Don Harmon's deputy at all times that Don Harmon has been the district prosecutor. And according to U.S. Attorney Inter-Office Memo, Dan Harmon and Richard Garrett were primary targets of the 1990 federal grand jury investigation of public official corruption in Saline County. This is public knowledge, publicly documented. This is true. That part. So when U.S. Attorney Chuck Banks cleared Dan Harmon of any wrongdoing, Richard Garrett was also cleared of any wrongdoing. So they were in the clear. Just giving you this food for thought so you guys can make your own decisions about what you think. So we have Judge Steed. He was the judge at the time. He was the judge at the grand jury. He was the one that appointed Don Harmon to run the grand jury investigation. So he is now also deceased. He was the sheriff of Saline County when Don and Kevin, when their unalivings happened. And although always anxious to be on camera during any photo opportunity, Judge Steed could not be found the morning of the investigation on the tracks. In spite of his absence from the scene, Steed professed complete confidence that the investigation was thorough and competent. Now, that is public record. He said that on a TV interview. So Steed had been sheriff for 11 years. He was confident of his status, but he underestimated Linda Ives, who was Kevin Ives' mother. Apparently, she went to war against him, and he lost his next bid for re-election. So, after, like I said, I think I did mention earlier that after this case and this grand jury and his involvement in this dealings, he was not re-elected sheriff. So, make of that what you will. Like I said, you guys are smart. Make your own decisions. Okay, so that was all the players in there. So, and what they got up to after, and a lot of them are deceased. Now we go to the family. So in August of 2016, I found this very interesting too. In August of 2016, a new lawsuit was filed by Linda Ives citing a violation of the FOIA Act by local and federal officials. She claimed that they were stonewalling her in relation to the Kevin and Dawn's deaths. She wanted information, and they wouldn't give it to her. Even going through, she went through the Freedom of Information Act. So on November 15th of 2017, a federal judge ordered 3 defendants in the suit, and the 3 defendants were the Executive Office of U.S. Attorneys, the DEA, and the Department of Homeland Security. They were ordered to turn over for private review documents that had formerly been redacted. The judge also dismissed several other agencies from the suit. So the agencies that were dismissed from the suit included the CIA, the U.S. State Department, the FBI, the Arkansas State Police, Saline County Sheriff's Office, and the Bryant Police Department, which is in Saline County. And Linda Ives' suit was dismissed in 2019. So once again, you can do with that information what you will. Just more food for thought. All right. So Linda Ives did pass away in 2020. When did she pass away? 2021. When she was 71 years old. Linda K. Ives, a bitten woman who sought answers for decades in the mysterious death of her son, Kevin, and another boy, has passed away at age 71. Ives is survived by her husband of 54 years, Larry, and her daughter, Alicia Ives. So, 2021, Kevin's mother passed away, and unfortunately, also in 2021, just about maybe a little over 2 months later, Alicia Ives, who was Linda's daughter, Kevin's sister, also passed away. Now, these were from what I understand, natural cause health problems. It wasn't anything At least that was reported. It was nothing nefarious or hinky about it. It was supposedly from natural causes. So Alicia Renee Ives, she was 53. She passed away on August 24th. She apparently had been taking care of her parents. Says she is preceded in death by her mother, Linda K. Ives, and her brother, Kevin Ives. So, unfortunately, Kevin's mother and Kevin's sister passed away. I did look, as far as I could tell from everything I looked today, I could not find any record that Kevin's father has passed away. He didn't find any obituaries or anything. So I'm assuming that Larry, the father, is still alive. I don't know if he's still in Arkansas, but apparently he is still alive. So we don't hear much and did not hear much, as I said earlier, about Don Henry's family. And once again, if you want to go down the rabbit hole and check out these sources that I've linked, there was some questions about Curtis Henry, who was Don's father, and Gayla Henry, who was Don's sister. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it. They're both deceased, but if you want to check it out, see what people think or have said. Once again, a lot of support with documents, FOIA documents. But anyway, George Henry, who was Don's father, passed away when he was 79 in February 2024 at home surrounded by his family. He was preceded in death by his parents and both of his children, Gayla Henry and Don Henry. So unfortunately that the whole family I believe I could not find, and it does not have much information about Gayla and Dawn's biological mother. It does mention George's current wife that he had while this was going on, which would have been Dawn and Gayla's stepmother. Not a whole lot. Like I said, when it comes to the Henry family, there's not a lot of information out there. So this is Gayla Henry. This was Dawn's sister. She passed away. She was 53. She passed away in November of 2020 at her residence in Magnolia. Now, when it comes to her passing, don't know if it was natural causes. It was rumored, and in some of the official documents that I've read and seen on various places, that she allegedly did partake in substances. So, but like I said, I can never find a COD for her. It just says she passed away in her residence. And she was preceded by her brother, Don Henry, and survived by her father, Curtis Henry, and his wife, Marvell, who was the stepmother, and a host of family and friends. So, like I said, when it comes down to it, the heart of this case is Don Henry and Kevin Ives. Two normal teenage boys. They could have been out, like they said, spotlighting deer, maybe partaking in some substances, being normal teenagers, and possibly could have stumbled upon something they weren't supposed to see, and unfortunately they lost their lives. There's just, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just one case that I wanted to spotlight. But there's like I said, you guys go out and do your research and look up what you want to look up and read and believe what you want to believe. Take in and make your own decisions. But when it comes down to this case, Still no answers. Case is not solved. Nobody's ever been charged. And I think it has officially, case is still unsolved in one of Saline County Sheriff's Office cold cases. The investigative file, none of the investigative files has ever been made public after 37 years. And I believe, I thought I included on the slide, I know that it is now considered, 99% sure that I read somewhere it is considered a closed case. It's not even an open case anymore. Now, I could be wrong, but I think I remember reading that in one of the many articles or clippings or documents or something that I've read, that it's a closed case. So it's just, these two boys deserve, they need answers. They're remaining family members that they have left, need answers. So anyway, if you guys have any, and that's all the last slide I had, all the information I had. Anybody who's still out there watching, any questions, comments, anything, feel free to chime in with any thoughts or opinions, or everybody's opinion is welcome. Just respect each other, respect everybody involved in anything we've been talking about. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, either in chat. There's 5 people here, it says, or if you're watching the replay, please leave a comment. But I appreciate everybody who has been here. Junior was here. Well, I'm waiting to see if anybody has anything to say before I get out of here. Thank you to everybody who was here. Junior was here. Dave, Alan LaProw was here. Just going down. P9 New York was here earlier. Michelle C was here. Thank you, my dear. The think tank, Miss Frankie Rose was here. Please go check out the think tank. Any channels I mentioned, all you have to do to go check them out, please check them out. You can go to the homepage of my channel, scroll down to the visit our friends section, and all the links are there to the channels. Make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. All you lurkers out there that didn't comment, thank you for being here and listening in. I hope I didn't bore you guys to death, or I hope you found this interesting, informative. Like I said, I'm not here to force any of my beliefs or what I think down your throat. I just want to bring this information to you, make you aware of this case, to form your own decision. If you want to go down rabbit holes or conspiracy theories, feel free to do your own research and see what you can, what you read, and form your own opinion. That's the way it is on this channel. We don't force our opinions on anybody else. You're free to have your own opinion out of the information we give you, or the information that you go out and research for yourself. Make your own opinion. Fritzy Garage was here earlier from Poland. Michigan Wifey was here. She's probably asleep by now. Yeah, so thank you, everybody that was here. So I'm going to, I don't think nobody's said anything. So it's been almost 2.5 hours. Yeah, we got to get out of here. So let me do some multitasking here. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave this up here. Thank you, everybody that was here, watching live, participate in chat, everybody who was watching or watch on replay. Before you get out of here, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, like, share, comment. You guys know the drill. Help small channels like mine get this information out to as many people as possible. No. Keep hitting the wrong buttons. Anyway, so thank you so much. And let's see, today is Saturday. I should have a Missing Person Monday video up sometime Monday or a live stream. Who knows what I don't even know what I'm going to do until I do it. But I'll give you guys plenty of notice if I'm going to do a live stream. So thanks once again for everybody's support, everybody watching. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.